What you see behind me here is a statue of King William II of the Netherlands. He was also the Grand Duke of Luxembourg. This statue over here is not the original one. The original one has been transported to Tilburg in 1924, and this one is just a replica that is stationed here in The Hague. Now, why am I showing this? That is an expression of male power. And why am I showing a reflection of male power in this video? Because this is a series about male energy. And this should be part 4, because part 3 is an audio clip. But anyway, I'll upload this as part 4. You can listen to the audio clip yourself. Just understand the following. This world system is based on male energy. It's based on drawing male energy away from males. That is really how this world system operates. It's all about stealing away male energy. That's it. And I explained it before. The reason this is so is because the pagans that rule this world, who follow the beast, they depend on stealing male energy. Because it's this male energy that feeds those paranormal parasites, or you can call them demons. There is female energy that's been drained also, of course, but it's male energy those paranormal parasites are after. So this is how it goes. You have a bunch of pagans who are in agreement with Satan, and they come together. And they form a plan how to exploit the population, especially the men. They need to have access to the men. They can't go to the men directly in the community and say, give us your energy. First of all, it's not going to work. Then they need to spiritually train them. And secondly, most men would say, why would I give my life source to you, another man? What for faggotry is this? You may get in trouble with some men if you come with such a suggestion. So this is how they do. And I'm giving a parable now. Let's say you have a population of 200,000 living somewhere. You have it's not really a small tribe anymore, but you have a tribe of 200,000 people. Let's say that of those 200,000 you have, let me think of something like 96,000 males. The majority are females. Well, in most cases like that. By the way, I'm in the Binnenhof now. So when you hear them calling upon evil spirits with those bells, it's not me, okay? So let's say you have a population of 200,000, and you have like 200 of those pagans. They form the shadow government. They need to come with a plan to trap those 200,000 people. So one of them comes and says, you know what? These 200,000 people live between 2 rivers. There's another tribe living on the other side of that river over there. So the best way we can trap these people is to make them think that they're only safe between these 2 rivers. Because there's more farmland outside these 2 rivers, where they can also live more abundantly. But we don't want them to know that. We want them to be frightened so they will stay here their whole lives and their descendants also. So those 200 pagans, they hire some bandits that kill some, like let's say they kill 10 people throughout the community. And those murders include children. So now the community is frightened. They're upset. Especially the women are upset, and this affects the men. So now they already have a hold on the male population now because the men are upset. So they use female energy in a sad manner to trap the men. And now the men feel responsible because they are the men, so they want to solve it. And then one of those pagans come forth with an idea how to deal with the situation. And the men, who both want the validation of their peers, of the women in their community, they will comply. So they comply, but the solution that's brought is a solution that forms a boundary between those 2 rivers. So now the people that live between those 2 rivers, they need to speak a common language, they need to behave a certain way. Now you have all these regulations that people have to adapts to identify that they're part of the community. If they don't comply, you're out. So now nobody wants to be out. Nobody wants it, so everyone complies. And that's how a state structure has been formed. And the leaders become the politicians. But behind those politicians, you have the shadow government, which are the wizards. And the only thing that keeps that construct together is fear. But people are not aware it's fear because in the daily lives you don't experience this fear, they have relief. But the men now are trapped with the responsibility to maintain that construct. So every man automatically becomes guilty until he proves that he's a man. This is what the culture then reinforces on the men, that they are guilty, that they need to prove themselves they are a man. And then you get those initiation rituals in which a boy becomes a man. So adulthood for men implies then that they need to be traumatized, so they become part of the community, because trauma bonds bind people. So it can be that, okay, some years later, some decades later, you have a bunch of teenagers who are 14, 15 years old, and one of the warlocks, not a wizard, one of the warlocks has to initiate them into adulthood, make them men. So the warlock says, you know what, we're going to camp over here, but there's one secret. All of us have to abandon this guy over here. The other the guys are thinking, what? He's one of us. He's one of... the warlock tells them, you want to be a man? You need to abandon that guy. So we're going to the forest. We're going to have a game. Let's call it hide and seek. And we all make sure that this guy is lost. And we'll return back to the campsite and we'll leave him in the forest. So the boys comply. A few days later, they hear that the guy has been killed. Now, this causes a trauma amongst those men, but this trauma binds them together. And at the same time, they receive rewards. Where the rewards are that they get some prostitutes they can sleep with wildly, or they get a title or whatever. And the compensation masks the trauma bond and gives them ease. They have now been initiated into adulthood. They're now men in the community. That's how pagans initiate adulthood in men, through trauma. Because that's how they also cause the men to be open to demonic spirits, so that demons can feed off their male energy. And such things used to be the rule in the world. That is the world. Well, since the 1950s, there's been a lot of resistance against such initiation rituals for men, which are common throughout the world. You also had child protection services rising up. So in many places, people abandon such practices. They unlearn them, but there's still places where they do it. Because that trauma bond amongst men binds them together in the community. And it does work out that they become effective members in the community. It motivates them to work and contribute to the community, let me say it like that. And pagans rely on it. And to some extent, even believers who did not agree with Christ relied on it. Now you understand why there were so many traumatized men that lost it during the World War II. And those are also World War I, but I'm talking about World War II now. There was a lot of pagan revival going on in the German Empire, also in the interbellum period between World War I and World War II. So that all escalated in World War II, and a big collective trauma was enforced on the albino population of Europe, or what they call white people. I rather not use the term white people. There's no such thing. Let's call them just albino people, because that's a biological term that's appropriate. Now also revealed why World War II happened. It was a project of the shadow government to enforce collective trauma on the Europeans, a big collective trauma. Because this collective trauma also contributed to the shadow government keeping on hold on the male population. And later feminism came in, which also had a bad side effect on the men. Well, the trauma was, it was intensified. And you may see the results today. Many broken families, broken homes, a lot of gender dysphoria. And what happens is feeds the demons. So, the world system here is based on draining male energy. Because without the training of male energy, those demons have nothing. I'm telling you, absolutely nothing. Maybe you didn't hear me clearly here, so maybe I need to say it one more time so that this gets through to you. Satan and those demons in the whole paranormal world, the whole powers of darkness, they are nothing without the human population financing them with male energy. And the way the human population finances them with male energy is because the human population traumatizes and abuses their men in horrible ways. And in general, people condone it and enable it. War is one big ritual in which they sacrifice many of their young men to get the validation they are a group. Yes, those demons, they are nothing important. They can't do anything because they are parasites over there. The only reason they are powerful and the reason why they can do stuff in the physical realm is because the human population feeds them with male energy. And that needs to stop, but humankind knowingly, they don't want to submit to Christ, so they keep feeding those losers. They keep empowering those loser entities, those parasites, to rule over them. Yes, that's what they do. But not for you who follow Christ. So let me repeat one more time for you so that you will understand this. By the way, part 3 will be online. This is part 4. Those demonic entities, without the theft of male energy, they have nothing. Absolutely nothing. But Hollywood portrays them as those scary entities. You need to look out for them. Don't get involved with them because they're very dangerous. Of course you shouldn't be involved with them. But not because they're so powerful, they're so big. No, you shouldn't be involved with them because they're deceivers. Especially as men, you shouldn't be involved with them because they're faggots, man. They want to throw all your energy, lust after you, throw all your energy and kill you. That's all what they do. Yet, there are men, because they want the validation of the community, they go to the paranormal to get aid. Instead of submitting to Christ, who is the man, who is the Lord, they want an overlord. Just pay attention to this. Those who don't follow Christ, they want an overlord. Instead of the Lord, they want an overlord, a violent male entity to keep them in check. And it's in this violent male entity that they as a community find their security. That's Babylon's way, that's how Rome operates. And many folks, they want an overlord. And they will sacrifice their young men to vindicate the overlords they're holding on to. But behind that overlord are those paranormal parasites who feed off the whole show. And who enable, say, the human population because they refuse to submit unto Christ. Sorry if I sound so angry, but I'm a bit fed up with this situation. I'm only 26, I haven't been on the earth for that long. Even though many of those pagan practices have been abandoned in multiple places due to the influence of the gospel, well, the world still holds on. I'm fed up with it. So forgive me if I'm too emotional in this video, and normally I'm not, but now I understand it. Without draining male energy, those entities, those paranormal parasites are nothing. They're nothing important. So agree with Christ. Be at peace.